So we're up to verse 5 now, and this verse and the next verse compare and contrast two kinds of friends. One is a so-called bad friend, and the other is a good friend, a spiritual friend, which mainly refers to spiritual teachers. So today we'll look at the bad ones, see why they're bad. So it says, when you keep their company, your three poisons increase. Your activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating decline, and they make you lose your love and compassion. Give up bad friends. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Okay, so as we looked at the other day, there was the term bad objects. So this shouldn't mean that the object itself is bad, or the friend itself is bad, because according to Buddhism, nobody is really bad from their own side. And there's a really nice quotation that I heard from Mother Teresa. She said, there are no bad people. There are only good people who do bad things. So this is a mistake we often make. If a person does a bad thing, then that our mind kind of makes that into the whole person. 100% of the person, 100% of the time, they are bad. So I really love that quotation. I think it's beautiful, and I think Buddhism would agree with that. Because for one thing, we say that everybody has Buddha nature. And there are two aspects of Buddha nature. One is the emptiness of the mind, and that, is always pure and can never be tainted or damaged in any way. So it's there from beginningless time all the way up to enlightenment in a very pure state. And then the other aspect of Buddha nature is just the conventional nature of the mind itself, clear, knowing nature of the mind, which isn't bad or good, it's basically neutral. And then all the positive qualities. So everybody has these good qualities: love, compassion, wisdom, and so forth. Sometimes they're a little bit buried, not so manifest, but they're there. And so everyone, every living being, eventually will free their mind from all the impurities, the stains, the disturbing emotions, the karma, the obscuration, all that bad stuff. And then their mind will be transformed into a totally pure, enlightened mind. So from that point of view, then nobody is bad, but people do bad things. And so the meaning here of a bad friend is a person in relationship to whom disturbing emotions come up in our mind, or we find ourselves slipping into bad habits, old bad habits that we are trying to free ourselves from. So the reason this happens is because of two factors. One is that in that person there are these disturbing emotions: greed, hatred, ignorance, and so forth, and maybe they're also engaging in not so good behavior. And so even though they have Buddha nature, they have these good qualities there, they might be kind of weak, and the more negative ones are predominant or dominant, okay? And also the person might have no idea about the possibility of transforming their mind. This is something they've never learned about, or maybe they've heard about it, but it just doesn't grab them. They're not, yet at the point where they're ready to do that. And so such a person then will at least sometimes get caught up in these disturbing emotions. They get angry, and then they may act out their anger. They have attachment, and they go with it. And ignorance, in the context of the three poisons, ignorance refers to ignorance of karma, not ignorance about the true nature of things. So it means not knowing what is beneficial and what is harmful, what is virtuous, what is non-virtuous. So, many people in the world are caught up in that kind of ignorance, don't know that certain actions are harmful, or getting angry is harmful. So one factor then is the other person. They're still caught up in disturbing emotions and acting out unskillful actions. And the other factor is from our side. So as I said the other day, we have seeds in our mind of these disturbing emotions, seeds of anger, seeds of attachment, seeds of ignorance, and so forth. So they're just lying there waiting to be ripened, waiting to pop up. And then when we meet with certain people or we're in their company and they're acting out these disturbing emotions, that becomes like a trigger. Like water, pouring water on our seeds so that they come up as well. So it's good to look at our experience of this. I'm sure we all have experiences. There's a person in our life who gets angry a lot, and maybe they don't even try to manage their anger, but they just get caught up in it and act it out, and they may swear and say, not nice things, and maybe even do harmful things, violent things, and so on. So if you spend time with that person, you're around that person, how does that affect you? If you watch your own mind, you might notice that there are more angry thoughts coming up in your mind. You feel more like doing angry things yourself. So if this happens, we shouldn't blame the other person. It's not really their fault. It's not possible. It may seem like this, that their anger has somehow transferred into our mind, but that isn't possible according to Buddhism. If it was possible, then the Buddhas would have already by now transferred all of their good qualities, all their love and compassion and patience and wisdom and so on into our minds, into the minds of all sentient beings, and we all just be enlightened by now. So it's not possible to do that. It's not possible for the state of mind in one person to be transferred to somebody else. So what's happening there is we are influenced by what they are doing. We're very easily influenced by other people. There's a story I heard in the Tibetan tradition. It's kind of a simple story, but it illustrates this. There were these two guys who came from some rural area of Tibet and went to Lhasa, the big city. And when they got to Lhasa, they separated and went different ways. And after some time, maybe after a few months, they met each other again and just got together and shared stories. And what happened was, before going to Lhasa, one of them was a drinker. He drank alcohol. And when he got to Lhasa, he got involved with some people who didn't drink. And he stopped drinking. So he wasn't drinking anymore. The other guy hadn't been a drinker before he got to Lhasa. But when he got to Lhasa, he got together with people who did drink and started drinking himself. So they completely reversed their habits. The drinker became a non-drinker, the non-drinker became a drinker. And this is because of the influence of others. And also, you may have heard there's this list of 6 factors that cause delusions to arise. I'm sure Venerable Children has talked about that. It's in the Lamrim Chenmo. So one of the factors is seeds of disturbing emotions in our mind. So they're lying there just waiting to be triggered off. The second factor is the object. So when we encounter an object, that becomes the trigger for these seeds to ripen and these disturbing emotions to arise. And then the third factor is the influence of other people. So we're really, really influenced by others. And so it's good to be aware of that. I'm sure you are. Even when we're little kids, our parents tell us to be careful about what friends we choose, who we talk to, who we go with, and so on. So it's kind of common knowledge, conventional knowledge, that it's better to try to associate with people who can have a good influence on us and avoid those who have a bad influence on us. So if we really do want to work on our mind and decrease our disturbing emotions rather than have them increase, and if we really want to spend more of our time engaged in Dharma practice, as it says here, hearing, thinking, meditating, learning the Dharma, thinking about it, and meditating on it. And if we really want to work on cultivating more positive qualities like love and compassion, then it is important to try to, well, it says give up bad friends. So like I said the other day, we have to, do this in an appropriate way. If it is somebody we can avoid altogether, it could be the postman or clerk in a grocery store. So you don't really have to spend a lot of time with that person. But it could be the person you're married to, or it could be a child or a neighbor. So it wouldn't be appropriate to just totally avoid that person, but just try to minimize the amount of time you spend with them. And then when you are with them, be really careful. Watch your mind. Try to notice if some of this, behavior or attitudes of the other person are stirring up things in yourself, and then work on that. Try to apply antidotes. And also one other thing, bad friends aren't necessarily people like criminals, drug dealers, gang members. They could be really nice people. They could be people who love us and are really kind to us and really want us to be happy. And also they could even be Buddhists, even people wearing robes, even Buddhist teachers, okay? So we shouldn't sort of be blind to that. Yeah, even among Buddhist practitioners, even among monastics, even among Buddhist teachers, there are some who, either because they haven't studied properly, they don't really know what is right and what is wrong, what is to be practiced, what is to be avoided, or they do know, but maybe their old habits are too strong or whatever. They might still fall into this category of bad friends. I was just thinking last night of a story that I heard of a young man in Dharamsala, a Western, if you haven't been to Dharamsala, it's full of Westerners. Lots of people go there to meet the Dalai Lama and learn something about meditation and Buddhism. So this one young Western man was there, and he was approached by a monk, a Western monk, and this Western monk asked him to have sex. And this young man was kind of shocked. He thought, but you're a monk. I thought, you're celibate. You don't have sex. And the monk said, oh, it's only with women. So that is not true. Just in case you don't realize that. If you're a monastic, you can't have sex with anybody. Same sex, opposite sex, even animals and corpses. At the Buddhist time, people got into some really weird things. So no sex at all with anybody. So anyway, this was a monk, somebody who dressed in robes, and yet either he didn't know his vows properly or he didn't care. Who knows what the reason was, but he was definitely not on the right track. So this poor young man, he must have been really, he declined the offer, by the way. He didn't fall for it. But, I think he was quite confused and maybe also really wary about other monks and nuns. So just to know, I'm not saying you should be mistrustful of everybody in robes. I mean, obviously here people are very well behaved. But then again, you might think, well, every other monk and nun in the world is like the ones at Sravasti Abbey. So that isn't true. There are some. There's also people who just buy robes. You can buy ready-made robes and then put them on. There are people who do that. They just put robes on. They haven't been ordained. They haven't been trained. And they're just walking around with robes. So if somebody in robes, you still have to be careful and cautious. So the point is to use our discriminating intelligence, our discriminating wisdom, and not be kind of foolish and just blindly go along with anybody and anything that they may say to us or recommend to us. Thank you.